Nandile, why don't you close the door for us, please? Okay, you copy as I go. Right, listen and copy simultaneously. Right, the first thing, or the first question, those of you who've started working out question papers will have noticed, the first question is that grade 8 sum, where they say without a calculator, with a diagram. Right, with these sums, they can give you the diagram. So if they give you the diagram, you don't have to draw it. But if they didn't give you the diagram, you're going to have to draw it. And it goes along with an equation that might look something like this, and also a restriction. Alright, now listen to me, please. You can do trigonometry with one of two things. Either with a calculator or with a diagram. If you're not allowed to use a calculator, you are going to need a diagram when it's an equation. Okay? You are going to have to use a diagram, whether they say it or whether they don't. So when I look at this, the only time that it would have been possible for me to find the value of theta without a calculator is if these values were the values of a special triangle. So for instance, if you recognize the number 1 or 2 or square root of 2 or 3, you know those values of the special triangles. But all these numbers must be special. If that's a square root 3, doesn't mean it's special because that's a 5. There's no 5 in the special triangles. Right. But that doesn't really happen. But if you look at these values, there is no way that you can find the value of theta. You don't have a shift button and you don't have a sin, cos or tan button. You cannot calculate it. Alright? So, therefore, we know we are going to use a diagram. So when you draw the diagram, you're going to have to get this equation, the function alone. So it's going to be cos theta equal to negative 3 over 5. Now when I draw this diagram, because it's theta, it can be any value, ne? So it can be an acute angle or obtuse or reflex, whatever. You have to go and determine which one it's going to be. So because it's negative, you know it's in the second and in the third quadrant. So you've narrowed it down to 2 possible quadrants. And then this restriction narrows it down to one specific quadrant, and that is the third quadrant. Now, look here. This theta, that one that they are referring to, is a reflex angle. It's an angle greater than 180 degrees. But do you remember, we cannot work with a big angle like that because that angle doesn't fit into a triangle. That's why we convert it to a reference angle. So that big theta there and this theta here is the same one. But now you might think, how can they be the same if that's a big angle and that's a small angle? The change comes in with the signs, because do you remember the sin, cos and tan graphs? They repeat. It's the same over and over and over again. It's one at the top, one at the bottom, one at the top, one at the bottom. So the only thing that can differ is the signs. It's the same values all the time. Right, so those signs that can differ is sorted out when you draw it in the right quadrant. So when you fill that value in, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. The hypotenuse, the radius is always positive. And then you're going to do Pythagoras to find the third side as plus minus 4. Now you have to determine whether it's plus or minus by looking at where that line is. It is going down, therefore I know it's negative 4. Now I've said this to you before and I'm going to say it again. The Afrikaans word for trigonometry 30, 40, 50 years ago. The name was driehoeksmeting, the measuring of triangles. So you need to understand that cos of theta, the size of the angle influences the answer. But it has nothing to do with the answer. Sin and cos and tan is a ratio between the angles of a triangle when the size of the angle is a specific size angle. But we're not interested, like here, in the size of the angle. We are interested in the sin of the angle, fraction. Cos of the angle, fraction. Tan of the angle, fraction. Do you understand that? So when I ask for the sin of 180 degrees plus theta, I don't want theta. I want the sin of theta, so I want the numerator and I want the denominator, not the sin, not the theta. When you substitute that fraction, this thing and the angle is gone. That fraction is not theta, that fraction is not sin. That fraction is sin theta. So the rest is gone. Now, when you have something like that, you'll just see it's not in its simplest form. That's why when I say the sin of 180 plus, I know that's in the third quadrant, and then I know it's negative sin theta. And now I substitute sin is opposite over hypotenuse. So it's negative 4 over 5, and that is why it's 4 over 5. Now I can ask anything. They can square it. Then you're just going to square the answer. But the sin is gone, the theta is gone. Any calculation that they put in there, you get it into its simplest form. Function, angle, so that you can substitute the ratio that you get there. Is that clear? Did you know all of it that I just said? Okay. Number 2, the second type of questions is, for example, when they say tan 61 degrees equal to P, and then they also say without a calculator. Can you see this is an equation? Can you see that? Okay. When you have an equation, you must either use the calculator or you must use a diagram. Are you allowed to use a calculator? No. So you're going to use a diagram. Start the sum, sommer klaar, by drawing a diagram. 61 degrees, it's in the first quadrant. Let's say they said it's 200 degrees. The tan of 200 degrees is equal to P. What's that going to mean for us? It means you're going to draw it in the third quadrant and your signs will sort itself out. Do you understand? Okay, so this angle is 61 degrees. That one has to be 90 because we're doing sin, cos and tan. You're going to have to write that as a fraction. Because, do you remember when we do Pythagoras? In grade 8 I taught you, you must have a 90-degree angle and you must have two known angles. So if you didn't write it as a fraction, you'll only have one known angle. One known side. One 90-degree angle and two known sides. Okay, so when I read this tan 61p over 1, the opposite side is going to be p, the adjacent side is going to be 1. And then with Pythagoras, I determine the third side. So Pythagoras is 1 squared plus p squared will be the hypotenuse square. Don't want the square, I want hypotenuse. So therefore, it is the square root of 1 plus p squared. That's now the length of this side. And now they can ask me anything. Whether they ask for the cos of 61 or the sin of 61, doesn't matter, you just read it from the diagram. Remember, the cos of 61 has got nothing to do with the fact that it's 61. They can put in 12 there as well. You're not using a calculator, so it makes no difference. The only thing that you must always remember is when you draw that triangle and the one angle is 61, the other angle is 90, then the third angle will always be the complementary angle to the one given. So I can't just ask you about 61. I can ask you about 29, the angle of 29, because you have that triangle. Now this is opposite, this is hypotenuse, this one is adjacent. When it's 61, that one is opposite, this one is adjacent, that one is hypotenuse. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm not going to do an example thereof. Do you understand? Do I need to do an example? Are you fine? So if I ask sin, then you just say p over square root 1 plus p squared. Third type of question that we can get is reference angles. Now this is with expressions that it comes in a lot. It can also come in at an equation, as you saw there, you solve it. It can come in at different places. But the reference angles can be divided into three different parts. The first one is just the normal reference angles. So it's to find the correct quadrant. So you can have 180 degrees minus whatever, 180 degrees plus whatever, and 360 degrees minus whatever. We can have 360 plus, but you know that's in the fourth quadrant, in the first quadrant. So 360 and 0 there is the same. So this one puts me in the second quadrant, this one puts me in the third quadrant, this one puts me in the fourth quadrant. And once you've determined which quadrant you're in, you go to the cast diagram to determine, because there's going to be a function there, sin, cos, or tan on the left hand side. So you just use the cast diagram and which quadrant you're in to decide whether it's going to be positive or negative. That's all that one does. It only changes the sign. The second type we can get is when we have co-functions. The reason I'm not putting something there is because I want you to know they can put in theta or a value. It can be 20 degrees or it can be theta, it doesn't matter. So 90 minus is first, 90 plus is second, 270 minus is third, 270 plus is fourth. So the first thing you do after you've determined the quadrant is you determine the sign. After you've determined the sign, sin changes to cos and cos changes to sin. But you first have to do the sign. Okay, when we work with negative angles, it means instead of reading the cast or the cast diagram or the Cartesian plane in anti-clockwise direction, the angle has gone in a clockwise direction. Right. So the sin of a negative angle is going to be the negative sin of the angle. And that could have been 100 degrees as well. Then you just first take the negative to the front and then you handle it as you normally would. The cos of a negative is the positive cos of the angle. And the tan of a negative is the negative tan of the angle. Now the reason for that is, if you look at your cast diagram, listen to what I'm saying. With cos, clockwise or anti-clockwise, positive. It's positive, negative, negative, positive. Other direction, positive, negative, negative, positive. So it's the same signs. That's why the cos of a negative angle, when you go in the wrong direction, it makes no difference. But if you work with sin in the right direction, it's positive, positive, negative, negative. Wrong direction, negative, negative, positive, positive. So it's swapped around. That's why it has to get negative. So it's going to make all the negatives positive and all the positives negative. Tan, positive, negative, positive, negative. Wrong way around, negative, positive, negative, positive. It's the wrong way around. That's why it needs that sign. Huh? Easy, ne? The next thing we had after that were the we are now at number 4, ne? Number 4 is identities. Right, we had 2 identities. The first one is tan theta equal to sin theta over cos theta. Now, a good thing to remember that we get from this identity is that when the sin and the cos is swapped around, it's cos theta over sin theta. Then it's going to be 1 over tan theta. Just a good one to have on hand and to remember. The second identity we have is that sin squared theta plus cos squared theta is equal to 1. And from this one, we get 2 others, and that's that sin squared theta is equal to 1 minus cos squared theta. And cos squared theta is equal to 1 minus sin squared theta. And the 1 must be positive and the cos square or the sin square must be negative here. The signs can't be different. It must be like that. And then from this 1 minus cos squared, I can also see that it's the difference of 2 squares. So that's why I must just remember it can also look like this. 1 minus cos theta, 1 plus cos theta. And this one is 1 minus sin theta, 1 plus sin theta. Next up is the invalid values. That's part of the equations, ne? Because you're going to have an equal to sign. But they often ask it after you've proven the identity, then they'll ask you for which values is this identity invalid. So the first one that you must remember is tan. If you see a tan in your equation, you're going to say because of tan theta, theta is equal to 90 degrees plus k times, plus k times 180, k an element of z. So these are the values that will give an invalid value. Okay. The second thing is when your denominator is equal to 0. So for example, let's say your denominator was 2 sin theta minus 1. That was your denominator. Then you take it, you let it be equal to 0. You get the function alone. You get your reference angle. Because with these equations, you're going to use a calculator, ne? So you're going to say shift sin a half. Then you get your answer theta equal to 30 degrees plus k times 360. but also it's positive in the second quadrant, so therefore theta also equal to 150 degrees plus k times 360 degrees, and k is an element of z. You all know how I got to that 150, ne? 180 minus 30, because it's in the second quadrant. Okay, the sixth one is equations, and then they normally ask you to find the general solution. For this, you use a calculator. Often they can ask you for the general solution, and in the next question they can ask you for the specific answers from negative 180 to 180 or whatever the case might be. Remember, then you just substitute a value into k until you're out of the restricted area that they've given you. Okay. General solution, three things that can happen. The first one is, and I'm only using elementary examples. You must go and have a look at where we did it, how they can ask it. Also in the old question papers. If you have sin x plus cos x equal to 0. So in this case, you've got two different functions, but they're both to the power of 1. When that happens, you're going to take your functions or your terms and divide them all with the same thing. So what we're going to divide with is going to be cos x, divide by cos x, divide by cos x, and then the first one becomes tan, the second one becomes 1, and the last one remains 0, and then you just solve it. I'm not going to do the example of solving it, no. You get the function alone, shift tan 1, you get 45 degrees, it's negative, negative in the second and in the fourth, k element of z. You remember tan's period is 180, sin and cos is 360. The next one is when the functions differ, like this one at the top, but the one has to the power of 1 and the other one is to the power of 2. Now I don't know if this is going to work out, I'm just using a value, alright? So when that happens, you cannot work with two different functions. Listen to me, asseblief. You cannot factorize when the one is cos and the other one is sin. You can't have cos in the one bracket and sin in the other bracket. Okay, I'm referring to factorizing now. When we factorized when it was x and y in algebra, the first one had to be x squared, then it was xy, and then the last one was y squared. So if that's the case, it's fine. 2 squares, fine. But not one a square and the other not. You can't factorize it. So now we're going to use an identity, because we want to get the functions to be the same. And then it looks like this. Sin x plus 1 minus sin squared x minus 2 equal to 0. And then remember to get it into standard form. It's going to be positive sin square x minus sin x plus 1 minus 2 is minus 1, so it's plus 1. Eh? Plus 1. Yeah. Equal to 0. Okay, and then you factorize it. And you solve it. So you get your bracket, two answers, and those two answers can both have two other answers. The third thing that can happen, it's almost like the second one but easier. The one function is sin square x. The other one is, for example, let me just check my example because it worked out. Let's just make it minus, sorry. minus 3 sin x plus 2 equal to 0. So now you'll see your functions are the same. Can I finish? Are you on your way somewhere? Are you writing a test? 5 minutes, I promise. Yo. You can go if you want to go. If you factor, if it looks like this is a quadratic trinomial. But you must just know that you can factorize. There are different ways to factorize. It's either take out something in common, or the difference of two squares, or quadratic trinomial. So this one, you're going to factorize. You can use the K method. It's going to be sin x, 2 and 1 minus, and then your one answer is going to be sin x equal to 2, and then sin x equal to 1. But you remember, when sin and cos is greater than 1 or 2, I have no answer. So you can just draw a line through that equal to sign, and then the sin x of 1, shift sin 1, you get an answer 90. In the first quadrant it's 90. In the second quadrant it's 180 minus 90, which is just 90 degrees, plus k times 360 degrees, and k is the element of z. Okay. Alright, the last thing, number 7. Sine, cosine, area rule. Okay, so with sine, you must either have two sides, one angle not included, or two angles, one side. The sine rule is sin A over A equal to sin B over B equal to sin C over C. Cosine, two sides, one angle included, you can watch the video. I'm just finishing this up, okay? Or three sides. I'm just writing one form of the cosine rule. You all know how it works, né? So if you start with a squared, it's going to be cos a angle. So a squared equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos, and then a angle. And then the area rule, you need two sides, one angle included, and then the area rule looks like this: a half AB sin C. You know how this one works. If it's BC, it's sin A. If it's AC, it's sin B. And then with these three, you must also be able to work with the unknown values. Ne? You must do sine, cosine, and area with unknowns. And that is that. As I said, don't forget the graphs as well, the functions. I just didn't write it down here because our time is up. Jy het vanmiddag en Vrydag, ja, vanmiddag en Donderdag en Vrydag en Saterdag en Sondag en Maandag. You work out old question papers, do you hear me? You can use the app. You remember that app, grade 11 mathematics, with the questions there? Because it's only trigonometry, but all of trigonometry. Okay. 50.